Yo Brollies, what's up? In today's video, I'm gonna share with you yet another PC build featuring the DeepCool AK400, a very affordable CPU cooler that actually performed better than I expected, especially considering the price. Now, previously I shared with you a full DeepCool PC build and desk setup, and since that build looks really awesome, not to mention has better components compared to what I was previously using, I decided to use it as my main PC as you can see here. So of course, I have to replace that PC for our second desk setup and so that my wife has something to work with. So yeah, we're building another PC, and coincidentally, I still have some DeepCool components here that I used before, so we're gonna use those as well to build another full DeepCool PC build. By the way, as part of our continued celebration of our 50k subscriber milestone, together with DeepCool, we're giving away one DeepCool AK620 CPU cooler, so make sure to watch the entire video. With that being said, let's get into it. Alright, so just in case you're wondering and you've been following my builds for a while now, I was previously using a Cooler Master TD500 mesh chassis, which is still one of my all-time favorites, and I also have some Noctua case fans and CPU cooler from that build. However, I want to keep things fresh, so I won't be using that chassis for this build, and I have some plans for a mini ITX build, so I'm reserving my Noctua components for that. So in this particular build, we're using the following components instead. For our chassis, we're gonna use the new DeepCool CK500, which is a cheaper alternative to what I'm using right now, which is the CK560. They essentially share the same design and build construction, with a removable front mesh filter and cover, and the only difference is that the front cover of the CK500 is solid. It also comes with two 140mm non-RGB case fans, and it doesn't come with an integrated fan hub. Aside from that, they are basically the same, with the CK500 being 1,000 Philippine pesos cheaper. Now, for our case fans, I'm going to use the DeepCool MF120 GT, simply because I already have them lying around from a previous review, and I honestly feel like it is one of the most unique case fan designs out in the market. And for the power supply, like the DeepCool MF120 GT, I also have the DeepCool DQ850 M2VL power supply from my previous builds, so we're also gonna use that. For our graphics card, I'm going to use the Galax RTX 3060EX, which should be a decent partner for our processor, which is an AMD Ryzen 7 3700X from my previous main PC. Also from my previous main PC is the Asus ROG Strix B550A motherboard, the XPG Spectrix D60G 16GB 3600MHz kit RAM, and the XPG SX8200 Pro 500GB NVMe. Now I also happen to have some extension cables from CableMod, so we're gonna use this as well for this build. And last but not the least, we have the DeepCool AK400 CPU cooler, and since this is a new product, let me share with you a quick unboxing experience. So, the packaging features the modern look and branding of DeepCool with a more minimalist and subtle approach, and features the new DeepCool logo. Upon opening the box, the first thing that will greet you is the accessory plastic and the user manual. Underneath the foam cover, we have the DeepCool AK400 itself. The user manual has easy to understand instructions and illustrations, and the installation process is actually pretty easy. Inside the plastic, we have two fan mounting clips, a metal bracket for the AMD platform, and a metal bracket as well for Intel. Aside from that, of course, we have the mounting screws and standoffs for both platforms. Now, looking at the DeepCool AK400, it features an FDB or fluid dynamic bearing fan that can spin up to 1850 RPM with an airflow of around 66.47 CFM. It also has anti-vibration rubber around the corners and has an overall noise level of around 29 decibels. What I like about this is the general compact form factor that is widely compatible with different configurations, especially with RAM and VRM heatsink compatibility. It also features 4 heat pipes and a unique matrix fin design. And while it doesn't offer any illumination, the minimalist and sleek design should make up for it, making it a good option for non-RGB and minimalist PC builds. Now, as you can tell, this PC will be built around the components that I already have lying around here in the studio, so obviously this is not a build guide with a specific budget in mind. This is just me sharing my experience building this PC featuring the DeepCool AK400 CPU cooler and of course how it performs. With that out of the way, let's finally cue the build montage. Enjoy! And there you have it, guys. By the way, I'm going to change the illumination to color white after I set up the Windows OS so that the lighting will perfectly match with the black and white cable mode extension cables. Now, like my experience with the DeepCool CK560, building inside the CK500 is equally easy even without the integrated fan hub. And if your budget is quite tight, you already have two 140mm case fans with the CK500. We also have the same removable front mesh filter, adjustable drive cage, easy to install 2.5-inch SSD mounting points, reusable PCIe covers, built-in adjustable GPU support, removable top and bottom dust filters, and all the necessary front panel I/O, including a USB Type-C port. And while the front panel cover is solid, we still have enough ventilations on the sides, and if you don't want to use the front cover, you can easily remove it and it will still look good with the front mesh filter. I also like the installation process for the DeepCool AK400. It was pretty straightforward without much fiddling. You only have to install the standoffs, install the metal mounting bracket, secure the AK400 heatsink, install the fan, and connect it to the CPU header. The fit is quite secure and precise when I looked around the contact between the processor and the heatsink. Now, before I share with you my final thoughts, let me share with you some benchmarks so that you can have an idea of how the system performs compared to my previous DeepCool PC build. As you can see in 1080p gaming, our new build is quite capable, averaging around 252 FPS in Valorant and up to 373 FPS in CSGO. It also averages around 241 and 310 FPS respectively at 1440p gaming, which is more than enough for my 144Hz ultra-wide monitor to handle. I don't usually play graphics demanding games and mostly play Valorant after work, so this is more than sufficient for me. Now, I understand that this comparison wouldn't make much sense to most of you, but as a consumer, I was quite interested to see how my two PC builds differ from each other, and the significant difference is mainly in terms of the processor and the graphics card, with my previous build having a better AMD Ryzen 7 5800X processor and a more powerful RTX 3070 graphics card. What's important for me, however, is when it comes to video editing, and as you can see, our new build with an older AMD Ryzen 7 3700X can still export our standard 4K project pretty quick at around less than 9 minutes. Now, before we move on to the thermals so that we can check how the DeepCool AK400 performed, let me pop all the other usual synthetic benchmarks that I ran, including Cinebench R15, R20, and R23, as well as Geekbench and 3D Mark, so that you can compare it with your system if you're interested. Now, in terms of thermals, as you can see, the DeepCool AK400 was able to substantially cool the AMD Ryzen 7 3700X, averaging around 50 to 61.9 degrees. Now, it doesn't really make sense to compare the thermals to my previous build because obviously they differ in terms of both the processor and CPU cooler, with the previous build having an AMD Ryzen 7 5800X and a DeepCool Castle 240EX ARGB cooler. But I added them anyways, again just to have a quick glance on how both of my PC performs. Now, the same story can be said for gaming. As you can see, again the DeepCool AK400 was able to maintain some good thermals for the AMD Ryzen 7 3700X, averaging around 55 to 62.9 degrees on both Valorant and CSGO with pretty decent idle temperature as well. And while we're at it, here's how the Galax RTX 3060EX performed in terms of thermals and a quick comparison with the Asus ROG Strix RTX 3070. Alright guys, like I said earlier, we're going to give away one DeepCool AK620 CPU cooler. It is actually in the same family as the AK400, but it's more beefy and features dual tower and fan form factor. So if you like the performance of the AK400, I'm pretty sure you'll be happy to win the AK620. Now, all you have to do to join is like and share this video, subscribe if you haven't already, and comment down below one cool feature of the DeepCool AK400 with a hashtag AK400. For more important details, check the description below. Overall, I'm pretty satisfied with my new build, and I'm really happy with how the DeepCool AK400 performed for the AMD Ryzen 7 3700X, and I honestly believe it is a good option for a budget PC build, especially if you're going for a minimalist approach without the use of RGB illumination. The quick installation and wide compatibility make it a safer option compared to other CPU coolers in this price range. Ultimately, it is safe to say that this PC build is pretty much overkill for my wife's needs, so we're all good. And there you have it guys, thank you for watching. I know this is more like a personal experience type of PC build and testing, but I hope you were still able to get a thing or two from this video. Huge thanks to DeepCool for the components. You can check the links below if you're interested. Thank you for watching, subscribe if you like this, and see you next time. Have a great day guys, you're awesome.